It's a little after, a few weeks afterwards, and we'll have to try to find that date for you, that Alexander Haig contacts you.
Yeah. I didn't know Haig. And I was sitting in my office at Solicitor General when he called and introduced himself, said, "What time did I go home?" And I told him. He said, "Well, since I went right by the White House, would I drop in and see him when I left?" I had no idea what was going on. So I did. I dropped in, and first he sat me down and said, "The president wanted me to resign as Solicitor General and become his chief defense attorney." Well, that shocked me because I had no idea anything like that was coming, or that they would ask it. And later on, I remember after a different episode over at the White House, Elliot Richardson said to me, "Why would he call you? He said, you were a professor." I said, "Well, before I was a professor, I was a practitioner, and I put together big cases. I used to put together antitrust cases, which were quite complex." Richardson didn't know that, but I guess Nixon must have been in touch with my partners who were at the busing bill session. And Haig is very persuasive. He made the case. It sounded like only I could save the Republic, you know. He discussed the fact that their legal operation, he said, was in a shambles. For example, they did not know in advance that Butterfield was going to disclose the existence of a taping system in the White House. I've heard that disputed, but anyway, in addition to that, there was no strategy. People were charging off in different directions. And he said, he said, "You'll be in charge." And I said, "How do we know? How people know I'm in charge? You give me a title?" He said, laughed, said, No. He said, you'll be in charge because you'll be the only one with access to the president." And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Until I give him the wrong advice, and then I sit by a phone that doesn't ring." And Haig says, "That's very perceptive of you." But that's the way it works, and I was not about to get myself into a position where I sat and stared at the wall for months on end. I said, I had just enough brains to ask for 24 hours to think it over. I went home and I called a friend of mine, Alexander Bickel, who was in town. And he and I spent the night discussing it and drinking a little, I must say. And by morning it was quite clear I didn't want that job. So I went over to see Elliot Richardson before going down to see Haig. And he made some good suggestions. I went down to see Haig and I said a couple of things. One is I have to hear the tapes. And Haig said, "You may not hear the tapes. This president feels so strongly about the institution of the presidency that if he's ordered to give up those tapes, he will burn them first and then resign." And I started to say, out of curiosity, "Then why does he burn them now?" But I decided it was a wrong thing to say, because somebody might burn them and say, "We're burning the tapes on the advice of the Solicitor General." So I shut up. Then I said, "Furthermore, I'm not a private attorney." I said, "Who's going to pay me?" I said, "Richard Nixon." He said, "No, the government." I said, "Well, if the government pays me, I'm a government attorney. And I'm not free as a private attorney would be if he comes across bad evidence to sit on it. I'd have to turn it over to an impeachment committee or somebody." I sensed the interest in my services was waning.